The Ohio State Buckeyes continue to prove they made the right call. Let's talk about it. My name is Aaron with my buddy Paul. We are the Big Ten guys on the daily, pushing out Big Ten content, news, rumors, analysis, whatever the heck it is, Big Ten, we're going to talk about it right here. Except UCLA, they're dog water. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, boom, hit that like button for Ohio State content. I have a feeling we're going to be talking about them a lot this season. A lot. We're going to jump right into it. First and foremost, what we need to talk about, obviously, a little bit of that game, the Washington game, the highs, the lows. Specifically, we need to jump into this defense. Jim Knowles, boom, he's out. We know he's gone at Penn State. They're figuring out what the heck happened with Oregon in Happy Valley. But the Buckeyes, they're sitting pretty at number one with Matt Patricia. Believe it or not, it blows my mind as a Detroit Lions fan that Matt Patricia is the defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Blows my mind. I will tell you this, I'm not a Michigan fan. That's my buddy Paul. I'm a Michigan State fan. No ill will towards the Buckeyes. Non-biased take. So let's jump right in. So first and foremost, we look at the comments Ryan Day made about Matt Patricia. He said, hey, listen, I think Matt is doing a really good job changing up looks. The guys are believing in it. They're bought in. They're playing with really good confidence. When you see success, it builds confidence, common sense. And we've seen this with multiple players, Curry, Styles, Reese, Matthews, the like. Defensively, this team has been a juggernaut. Let's go back. Texas allowing one touchdown towards the end of the fourth quarter, allowing a touchdown against Ohio, which was, a bomb. It is what it is in the third quarter. But besides that, those are the only touchdowns they've allowed. They've allowed a handful of field goals, and that is it. So when we look at it, the Buckeyes are proving, hey, listen, Jim Knowles, you go do your thing at Penn State. You go get paid the big bucks. Sure, granted, they had to fork out some cash for Matt Patricia, but when it comes down to it, they are showing the country, hey, we made a good decision in bringing in this guy. Again, let's look at Nick Saban at his time at Alabama, continuously bringing in people he knew, the school knew, this program knew would help them succeed and continue to compete for national championships year in, year out. Ryan Day, the Ohio State Buckeyes, following suit, doing the same thing. So Matt Patricia doing a great job. And again, as a Michigan State fan, I don't mind seeing it. I don't care seeing it. But what I also don't think is people realizing, and probably a lot of Ohio State Buckeyes realizing who Damon Williams is. Damon Williams, incredibly athletic, transferred from Arizona, going into Washington, following obviously the head coach. And so athletic, incredibly athletic. And if you just jump into that game, first and foremost, they held him 13 carries, negative 28 yards. That was 6 sacks. We know that in the NFL, that's taken off when it comes to passing. In college football, it's taken off in rushing, which in my opinion makes a little more sense. But they kept him at bay. They kept him at bay. So which was huge for the Buckeyes in this game. And again, we will talk about defense in a little bit, but I think the bigger thing right now is defensively, things are clicking. Things are looking good for this Buckeyes team. They are keeping this team, this Ohio State Buckeye team, in a good place, and I think the offense will follow. But we continue. Some big-time players on Matt Patricia's defense. Cade Curry, first and foremost, solid Pro Football Focus grade. Second week in the row, leading the Buckeyes with an 80.3, which is solid. Besides him, Caden McDaniel, who had the highest grade for the Buckeyes against Texas and Grambling State. You love seeing that. And I know this is a weird thing to pull out and say, but remember the Philadelphia Eagles' dominant performance against the Kansas City Chiefs. One thing I will never forget about that game was the dominance in the trenches with the Eagles' defensive line. They did not blitz. They literally dominated with a 4-man rush. The Ohio State Buckeyes have the ability to continue to do that down the road. Curry with, I believe it was 2 sacks in this game? My fault. 3 sacks. That was disrespectful. McDonald with 2 sacks. Listen, if they continue to create pressure, it is going to wreak havoc on offenses they face. And we're going to jump into their schedule in a little bit and talk about that a little more. But defensively, we continue to look at the Buckeyes, and 8th in the country right now with yards allowed, so that's 132. Then we look at as well total defense, 229, solid. We look at red zone. This is huge. This is crazy. Field goals made. Field goal, red zone scores, 2. Very impressive. Very, very impressive from the Buckeyes. They've done great when it comes to teams getting into the red zone. That's hard to do. That is very, very, very hard to do. So they literally have given up 2 field goals in the red zone. So you got to tip your hat to the Buckeyes defense. And again, going back to this Matt Patricia hire, it was a smart move. Jim Knowles, again, he did what he did, helped bring a national championship to Columbus. But Matt Patricia, again, continuing to prove, and through this season will prove he was worth the hire. As I believe, as we look at the schedule, I think the Buckeyes are going to be obviously pretty happy with who they have left to play on the regular season. And again, as I said, offensively, I think, sure, the Washington game, it wasn't anything to write home about. Julian Sayin, Jeremiah Smith, obviously the best wide receiver in the land. I think down the road, you will continue to see them click more, and things will get much better offensively for the Buckeyes. But then as well, we jump into scoring defense. As I said, the Buckeyes have only allowed 2 touchdowns, 1 extra point. Tell me how that makes sense. I guess I believe it was Ohio who missed the extra point because it ended up being 9 points they finished with. Field goals, they've allowed 3 field goals, and that is it. So averaging 5.5 points a game. That is insane. Allowing that many points. That is crazy. And then last but not least, we jump in offensively, as I said. And this is not ideal for a team, I would tell you, who ranks number 1 in the country. And again, it's still an early season. We're still in that, first, I guess technically, you play 12 regular season games. We're close to that halfway point. We're inching closer to that halfway point. And the first third of the season's done, and the Buckeyes rank 33rd in total offense. So, again, sure, it's frustrating. They're winning games. That's what's most important. Ryan Day said it. Julian Sayin said it. This team knows that. But, again, this offense needs to continue to click and get better. And we look at the schedule moving forward that I thought I had up, that now I'm going to pull up right here. So you look at the schedule moving forward, and I know you're going to continue to see this defense dominate. And hopefully offensively, you're going up against some teams that have not been ideal when it comes to stopping their opponent's offense. So again, you look at Minnesota, should not be anything to write home about, especially a game in Columbus. Illinois, they gave up, 53 points. They lost by 53 points to the Hoosiers, as well as Wisconsin. Wisconsin defensively is always all right, but I don't think they're going to be able to hang with the Buckeyes. Penn State showed that, they can't necessarily hang toe for toe. I guess they did. Technically, they went into double overtime, but they couldn't pull it out against Oregon in Happy Valley, and Penn State is in Columbus. And then you got a bunch of other kind of mediocre teams. But the biggest being, Michigan defensively is still a juggernaut. Laugh all you want if I say that. I do not like Michigan. I probably despise Michigan as much as you do. But Michigan always has a pretty solid defense. Things need to be clicking for this offense by the time they get to Penn State and obviously Michigan. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for the Buckeyes. I think they're going to get it figured out as they they continue to play Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin in that game in Columbus against the Nittany Lions. They got to have things going. at full tilt. And again, you might say, well, look at Aaron. Grambling State, they dropped 70 and then 37 in Ohio. Yeah, that's a FCS team, and then Ohio is a MAC school. We're talking MACtion. Come on, guys. And so then Texas and Washington, 14 and 24. Not ideal. Again, Texas, a solid team. Washington, I don't think it's as bad as people think, but I think you will continue to see that offense get better, put up more points, and be an offense where people say, okay, this team is worthy of the number one team in the country. Because there's a lot of people talking right now like, I don't know if there truly is a head and shoulders great team in college football right now that stands above the rest. Ohio State has the opportunity to prove that as they make their way down, beating Minnesota, beating Illinois, Wisconsin, handily, offensively putting up big numbers, defensively continuously doing what they have shown that they can do, and then obviously taking down Penn State. And then I think people are going to start to realize, oh yeah, Ohio State's still the real deal. So what do you think? Comment below. Ohio State just proven people wrong, proven people that their defense is something to be reckoned with. Offensively, things are, in my opinion, only looking up. What are your thoughts, Buckeye fans? Would love to hear from you. Comment below. We'll talk later. If you got to say anything bad about my Michigan buddy, Paul, go right ahead. I don't care. We'll talk later. Peace.